What if I told you that almost every fear you've ever had, every time you held back from speaking your truth, every time you stayed in a place that made you unhappy, wasn't really your choice, but a silent survival mechanism deep inside your brain working without your permission? What if the anxiety you feel before trying something new, the hesitation you feel before chasing a dream, and even the sudden anger or emotional shutdowns you experience in moments of stress, all come from the same hidden source? What if you've been letting the most primitive part of your brain make the most important decisions in your life without even knowing it? This hidden part isn't something evil or broken. It's simply old. Very, very old. It's called the reptilian brain, and it's the oldest part of your nervous system. It was built millions of years ago when humans were just trying to survive day to day. Back then, life was about avoiding predators, finding food, reproducing, and defending your territory. This brain wasn't created to help you follow your dreams, build emotional intimacy, or find purpose. It was built for one thing only: survival. And even though we now live in houses, attend schools, have smartphones, and talk about goals and personal growth, this ancient brain still lives inside of us. It still operates using the same instincts it always has. It hasn't evolved with us. It doesn't understand the difference between a real, life-threatening danger and a difficult conversation. To your reptilian brain, being judged feels as scary as being hunted. Being rejected feels like being abandoned in the wild. Speaking in public feels like standing alone in front of a threat. That's why you feel frozen when you want to speak up. That's why you avoid situations that could lead to change. That's why you might explode in anger or retreat into silence. Not because you're weak or broken, but because your brain is trying to protect you using instincts that were meant for a different world. This part of your brain reacts faster than thought. Imagine walking peacefully through a forest. You're calm, enjoying the view. Suddenly, a stick snaps behind you. Before your conscious mind can even process what happened, your body tenses, your heart pounds, your breath shortens, and your muscles prepare to run or fight. That's the reptilian brain taking over. It doesn't ask questions. It doesn't analyze. It just reacts. And the truth is, it reacts the same way whether the threat is real or imagined. It can't tell the difference between a tiger and an angry email. And because this part of your brain responds so quickly, it often controls you without you realizing it. You find yourself procrastinating, not because you're lazy, but because the fear of failure has triggered a flight response. You feel rage rise in a conversation, not because you're cruel, but because your brain thinks you're under attack and is trying to fight back. You sit frozen in front of an opportunity, not because you're incapable, but because your instincts have activated the freeze response. These are the three main reactions of the reptilian brain: fight, flight, or freeze. And while they were life-saving in the wilderness, in the modern world, they become invisible chains, keeping you stuck, playing small, and living in fear. But what's even more dangerous is how the world around you knows how to use this fear against you. Fear is the easiest way to control human behavior. When someone is afraid, they stop asking questions. They obey. They look for someone to protect them. That's why fear is used in politics, religion, advertising, and media. If people can be made to feel unsafe, they can be made to hand over their power. Think about how the news works. Crisis after crisis, fear after fear, economic collapse, war, disease, violence. The more afraid people are, the more willing they are to accept control, to follow orders, to sacrifice freedom for security. It's not always obvious, but it's there. It's biopolitics, the use of fear to shape behavior and keep power in place. But it goes even deeper. Fear cells. You're constantly being told you're not enough, not attractive enough, not successful enough, not healthy enough. And then, conveniently, you're offered products to fix it. Fear of aging fuels the beauty industry. Fear of illness fuels the supplement and pharmaceutical industries. Fear of loneliness fuels dating apps. Fear of not belonging fuels social media. Fear of punishment or spiritual failure is sometimes used to keep religious followers obedient. And all of it goes straight to your reptilian brain. It doesn't question. It just reacts. It sees these messages and immediately tries to avoid the perceived danger, even if it's not real. So what can you do about it? How do you break free from something so deeply embedded in your brain? The answer begins with awareness. You can't change what you can't see. You need to start paying attention to how often fear is running your life. Every time you feel hesitation, ask yourself, am I acting from desire or from fear? Am I choosing this because I want it or because I'm afraid of what might happen if I don't? Is this danger real or is it just uncomfortable? The more you ask, the more you'll begin to see the pattern. And once you see it, you can begin to break it. The next step is to pause. When you feel triggered, don't react right away. That moment between something happening and how you respond to it, that tiny space, is where your power lives. In that space, your higher brain, the part of you that can reason and reflect, has a chance to speak. Instead of snapping back at someone or running from a challenge, you can take a breath. You can choose your next move. And each time you do that, you train your brain to work with you instead of against you. You can also begin to rewire the associations your brain has with fear. Start facing discomfort on purpose, in small, manageable ways. Wake up early when you want to stay in bed. Finish a task without checking your phone. Speak honestly, even if your voice shakes. These tiny acts of courage send a message to your reptilian brain. I'm safe. I can handle this. And with repetition, the fear starts to fade. The brain begins to associate challenge with growth, not danger, and it starts to relax its grip on you. Another powerful tool is meditation. Sitting quietly with your thoughts helps you see that you are not your reactions. You are the observer. You can watch fear rise without becoming it. You can see anger without acting on it. You can feel discomfort and still choose action. Meditation creates space. It slows things down. It helps you see clearly. And when you see clearly, you can choose powerfully. You can also use rewards to retrain your brain. The reptilian brain learns through pain and pleasure. So if you connect good habits with rewards, like celebration, rest, or praise, your brain begins to crave them. If you give bad habits mild consequences, your brain begins to avoid them. Over time, this reshapes your instincts. You stop needing motivation. Your system starts working for you, not against you. But this isn't about erasing your instincts. It's about leading them. You don't need to become a different person. You need to become the version of yourself that is awake, that sees clearly, that lives from choice, not reaction. Because once you become aware of this ancient force, it loses its hold on you. You're no longer a puppet being pulled by invisible strings. You're the one holding them, and you're not alone in this journey. History is filled with people who learn to rise above their primal instincts. Ancient samurai practiced calm presence, even in the face of death. Indian yogis spent decades mastering the mind. Stoic philosophers believed emotional control was the key to true freedom. These people weren't emotionless. They weren't superhuman. They were simply trained. They chose to become conscious. And so can you. Mastering your reptilian brain doesn't mean you'll never feel fear again. It means fear won't make your choices for you. It won't stop you from speaking, trying, loving, or growing. It won't keep you stuck in the same cycle, living a life that isn't truly yours. Because once you learn how to lead your own mind, you become unstoppable. You gain the ability to feel fear and still move forward. You gain the strength to pause when others react. You gain the clarity to see what's true and what's just noise. You stop surviving and start living. This is not about perfection. It's about intention. It's not about having no fear. It's about rising above it. Every time you choose growth over comfort, every time you speak when it's hard, every time you take the leap instead of running away, you are rewriting your story. You are building a mind that serves you. You are stepping into your power, not because fear disappeared, but because you decided that it no longer gets to drive your life. And that decision, that quiet, powerful decision to take back control, is the beginning of a life that's truly yours. There is a part of the human mind that was designed a very long time ago when survival was the most important thing. This part of the brain reacts quickly to danger. It doesn't think deeply, and it's always scanning for threats. Back then, when people had to run from wild animals or fight for food, this part of the mind helped them stay alive. But today, the world has changed, and even though we no longer face those same dangers, this part of the brain still tries to protect us. The problem is, it doesn't know the difference between a real threat and an emotional fear. It still reacts to stress, rejection, pressure, or discomfort the same way it would react to a life or death situation. It panics. It pushes us to chase comfort, to avoid pain, to fit in, and to get quick rewards. It wants safety, not growth. It wants approval, not truth. And unless we learn how to understand and rise above this part of the mind, we will keep living in fear without even realizing it. When someone stays stuck in this reactive mindset, they start building their life around avoiding fear rather than following purpose. They want to be liked, so they hide their real opinions. They want to feel good quickly, so they avoid anything that takes time or effort. They want to belong, so they follow the crowd, even when the crowd is confused. They start believing what they're told, instead of questioning whether it's right for them. They copy others, not because they want to, but because they're afraid of being different. And every time they do this, they lose a little bit of themselves. Their choices are no longer based on truth, but on survival. And survival, while necessary in moments of danger, is not enough to build a life of meaning, peace, or freedom. Over time, This way of living creates an invisible prison. A person may look fine on the outside. They may smile, succeed, or even impress people. But inside, they feel trapped. Something is always missing. They feel tired without knowing why. They feel anxious even when everything seems okay. They feel like they're running, but not going anywhere. They might have a good job, a family, or a life that others admire, but deep inside, they know they are not truly free. That's because they are still being driven by that survival mind. A mind that was meant to protect them has now become the very thing holding them back. And the worst part is, they think this is normal. They think everyone feels this way. They don't know that there's another way to live. But there comes a moment in some people's lives, a quiet moment, or maybe a painful one, when they begin to question everything. They start to notice that the things they've been chasing aren't making them happy. They start to feel exhausted from pretending, from pleasing, from constantly reacting. They begin to hear a small voice inside that says, "This isn't who I really am." It doesn't shout, and it doesn't force. It simply whispers. And if they have the courage to listen, that's when the awakening begins. Awakening doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it starts with deep discomfort, a restless feeling, a gentle sadness, a moment of stillness when everything around them feels loud and fake. They begin to notice their own thoughts. They start asking themselves, why did I react that way? Why do I need this person's approval? Why do I keep doing things that don't feel right? These questions open a door inside them, a door that leads away from automatic living and toward conscious living. And once that door opens, it becomes harder to go back to sleep. Little by little, they begin to watch themselves. They see how often fear runs the show. They see how they've been trained to seek pleasure and avoid discomfort. They notice how often they say yes when they mean no, how often they stay quiet when they want to speak, how often they compare, compete, or complain without knowing why. And then something powerful happens. They stop blaming the outside world. They realize that freedom doesn't come from changing everything around them. It comes from changing how they respond. It comes from mastering their own mind. And so they begin to reclaim their power. They start to pause before reacting. They feel their emotions without being controlled by them. They learn to sit with discomfort without running from it. They begin to choose their responses instead of being pulled by old habits. And every time they do this, they take back a little more of their life. They stop needing the world to approve of them. They stop chasing things that never really mattered. They start listening to their soul, to their truth, to that quiet wisdom that was always inside them. The person who rises above their survival mind becomes something rare, a truly conscious human being. They don't need to be right all the time. They don't need to prove anything. They don't need to win every argument or please every person. They are not trapped by fear, by rules, by labels, or by the opinions of others. They walk their own path. Not because it's easy, but because it's real. They are guided by truth, not by trend. They are grounded, not reactive. They speak with clarity, not with the need to impress. And they act not out of pressure, but from peace. This kind of freedom cannot be bought. It cannot be faked. It cannot be taken away because it comes from within. It comes from knowing who you are when the world is loud. when people misunderstand you, when life doesn't go as planned. It's the quiet strength of a person who has looked fear in the face and said, "You don't control me anymore." It's the calm of someone who doesn't need to run, because they are finally at home within themselves. This, more than anything else, is what it means to evolve. Real evolution is not just better tools, faster machines, or more information. Real evolution is deeper awareness. It's the shift from being a creature of habit to being a creator of life. It's the transformation from reacting to everything to responding from a place of wisdom and presence. It's not about becoming perfect, but about becoming conscious. It's about stepping into your full power, not the power to control others, but the power to be free no matter what others do. And this evolution is not for the special few. It's for anyone willing to stop, to question, to feel, and to grow. It's for the tired soul who is ready for peace. It's for the quiet heart that longs for truth. It's for the person who knows there's more to life than fear, approval, and routine. It's for you, if you're ready. If anything in this message touched your heart, it's not by chance. You were meant to hear this. Maybe not everything makes sense right now. Maybe part of you still feels afraid. That's okay. Awakening doesn't happen all at once. It's a gentle unfolding. It's a returning to yourself, layer by layer, moment by moment. And the fact that you're still reading this means something inside you is already awakening. Don't ignore it. Don't rush it. Just honor it. Let it guide you. Let it change you. And if you feel this could help someone else, someone who is lost, struggling, or quietly searching, please share it with them. You never know whose life might begin to change because you passed along a message that stirred something in you.